Hello, friends, and happy Mother's Day to all of the moms out there. I really hope that you are having a blessed and relaxing day today. As moms, we only wish for those days where we don't have to be responsible for anyone or anything, and we can do absolutely nothing, maybe go out and even get pampered. And I really hope that that's the kind of day that you are having today. So today's title is actually called The Strong Ones Get Tired Too. And I feel like this could be geared towards mothers who are just constantly doing all the time for everybody else, the kids, the husband, friends, other family. But I'm going to be speaking to not just moms, but all of the strong people, all of the strong ones who hold it together for everybody each and every day. So we're gonna dive in because today I am talking to the ones that everybody depends on, the ones that everybody calls when life is falling apart, the ones who hold families together, the ones who carry everybody else emotionally, and the ones who keep showing up even when they're exhausted. And can I talk to the people who are tired of hearing, "You're so strong"? Because sometimes you don't want to be strong anymore. Have you ever had that moment where people keep telling you, "Mom, you're so strong. You're so strong." And you're like, "Thanks, but I don't want to be strong right now. I don't want to be strong all of the time." Because sometimes you just simply are exhausted and you don't want to be the strong one anymore. Sometimes you're just exhausted, you're emotionally drained, and sometimes you're carrying so much that even breathing feels heavy, and that alone in itself is heavy. And the dangerous thing is that being the strong one is that people stop checking in on you because they're like, "Well, you'll survive it any day anyway, no matter what you're going through, you will survive it anyway." But even the strong ones need a break. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, it says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect weakness." So notice that He did not say that my power is made perfect and you're pretending. He didn't say that. What he did say, he said that my power is made perfect in weakness. Some of you have been hiding your weakness for so long that nobody even knows what or how much pain that you're carrying each and every day, but God sees it. How many people are for the strong people that are here today, how many of you came in tired? Just feeling tired today? How many of you are just feeling tired today from being the strong one for everybody else? And how many of you carry things that nobody knows about? And how many of you are smiling in public but crying in private? Being the strong one, it sounds powerful until you become the one that is carrying everybody else, because that becomes heavy. Everyone comes and vents to you. They depend on you, they lean on you, and they expect wisdom from you. They expect stability from you. And eventually you just become emotionally overloaded because you're carrying everybody else on your back. You're carrying all of their baggage, all of those things that they have vented to you about. You're carrying that also each and every day. It's like you've become this machine instead of a human. So it's like what I'm picturing is like, let's say, I'm sure us as moms, you've said it too, where you're like, "Well, I wish I had multiple arms, so I can do everything all at one time." Not only were you not meant to do that, which is why God only gave us two, but I'm picturing just those multiple arms like an octopus, just like doing multiple things and going super fast and just constantly being like that literally all of the time, every second of the day, from the time you wake up till you go to sleep, and you're just going so fast, just multitasking. And then I just so slowly see it just, it's starting to slow down, it's starting to slow down, and it's just eventually like it stops because it becomes so heavy, it becomes so exhausting. And that is kind of what it's like being the strong one each and every day. And we were not created to carry it all alone, or to carry it all at all. And we'll get a little bit into that. So you eventually you become emotionally overloaded, but because you're strong people, or because you're the strong one, people assume that you don't need support. They stop checking in on you. So they stop giving you support because you remember, like they think that you'll survive it anyway, no matter what you're going through, because all of that advice that you've been giving, as they're venting to you and putting their emotions on you, then and it's good to listen to people. I don't want to say it like it's not. It's good to listen to people, but it's, you also need rest. You also need time for you to kind of regroup. But if you're just constantly doing for everyone else and not giving yourself the time or space, or separating time to sit in God's presence so that you can give it to him, maybe each and every day at the end of your day, do a check-in with yourself, see how you're doing, and see what you can surrender to him at the end of your day. So the strong ones still need comfort. The strong ones, they still need rest, and the strong ones still need someone to pray for them. And the strong ones still need God, because no one is created to do it all alone. We are not created to have to literally put everybody on our backs each and every day. We are not meant to carry everyone. That is God's job. If you are doing that and you feel like you have to carry everyone, then stop and think, like, I am not God. I am not a robot. I am a human being. And human beings are fragile creatures, actually. And again, we were not created to carry it all and to do it all. That is why it is very important for us to surrender. Maybe do that check in so that you can surrender that anxiety that you had today, or that story that your friend vented to you about earlier. Maybe take that time to even pray for them and to surrender that to God, so that you're not carrying it around with you each and every day. Because that stuff, it just starts to build up. It just starts to build up. It's like you have this heavy backpack on your back, and like, and I'm going to ask you, what is in your backpack that you are carrying each and every day? Because are you carrying, it's like you're carrying boulders on your back, because this backpack is filled with childhood trauma. This is filled with, you know, belief systems that have been like embedded into your nervous system. The survival from childhood, or like these create belief systems, and they affect how you live each and every day. They affect your decision making, they affect your relationships, they affect like how you love, they affect like literally every single aspect, how you see yourself, like it's every aspect of your life. So when your nervous system is all out of whack, and it's like this, you feeling like you have to be the strong one, because if I rest, like I'm going to feel guilty about it. That is something that is a survival response that then got embedded into your nervous system, as because your nervous system is your body's alarm system. And it's like if your body is steady set on expecting danger, that causes exhaustion, and it causes you, it's that something else that's in your backpack that you're just loading all of this stuff in there. And your friend came and vented to you, you got that story in there that you're carrying. It's just steady, and then you're walking around. When you go hiking, you're supposed to be hiking lightly as possible, because you're carrying it as you're hiking. You want to go as light as possible. So why are we just steady filling our backpacks with all of this heavy weight, or letting it accumulate so much it feels like you're carrying this big boulder? Like, you should not feel guilty for resting. Um, like God said, or Jesus said, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That is him giving you an invitation to come to him so that he can relieve you of the burdens and your weariness. And he has his hand out towards you, like all you have to do is grab my hands. But we're not grabbing it because like there's something there blocking it, whether it's fear. like that's why a lot of people even have a hard time with letting go of things. Like, for me, it was like I didn't want anyone to feel the burden of the pain that I carried each and every day. I didn't want anybody to have the burden of my backpack that I had on my back each and every day. And I didn't realize that it was like, one, what would I be without this backpack that I've been carrying around for so long? Because we start making that our identity. Just like strong people tend to make what they can do for others their identity, but you're more than your performance. But I also caught myself where I was like, um, well, I didn't want anybody to feel that pain. And little did I know, until God brought it to my attention, that that included him. I didn't even want him to carry it. And that's where I went down, and God showed me, I sat in his presence, and God showed me that I, he can carry it. He is capable of carrying it. And matter of fact, he wants to. We are human, so that might be hard for me to understand, because we're not created to do that. But he is fully capable. He is literally a God. So, kind of went off on a tangent there, but we're going to go back on topic here. So, eventually you become emotionally overloaded, right? And the strong ones, they still need comfort, they still need prayer, they still need God in their lives, and they still need that support system, right? And some of you are emotionally suffocating because everybody takes from you, but nobody is pouring back into your cup. And eventually your soul, it just becomes exhausted. And you guys, how strong is that? It's one thing to be exhausted from not sleeping very well the night before, so you wake up tired. Physical exhaustion is not as deep as your soul being exhausted. Like, that is another thing that starts affecting you and your well-being, as well as everyone around you. It starts affecting everyone and everything around you, your family, your job, everything that pretty much comes into your orbit. It changes because your soul is exhausted. And in Matthew 11:28, that's where Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and burden, and I will give you rest. And Jesus, notice he did not say, come to me if you're weak. He said, come to me if you are weary. If you are weary, come. And again, that's that invitation to you, for you to come, with his arm stretched, or his hand stretched out, just like when See, the thing is I'm getting ahead of myself. Strong people, they get weary too. And what I was gonna say is like think of Peter. You know, I'm saying that Jesus has his hand stretched out to you because eventually when your soul is exhausted like that, you get to a point, you're the strong one for everybody else. You just get to this point where you just feel like you're drowning. And that reminds me of Peter, right? He took his eyes off Jesus for a moment and he said, "Why did you doubt?" But as soon as he doubted, he started to sink. And Jesus had his hand stretched out and all Peter had to do was grab it. He grabbed it and Jesus pulled him out from drowning. And that is exactly what he will do for you. He has that invitation out for you and his hand out for you already ready because he said, "Those who are weary and burdened, just come to me and I will give you rest." And that's another thing, like he says, "And I will give you rest," right? But if you feel guilty for resting, then why would you take his hand? What is stopping you from grabbing his hand? What is it that what beliefs where did that belief system come from that you and this is just questions for you to do some inner work, really look at why will you not where did that belief system come from where you feel like if you rest that everything's going to fall apart, or you feel like something is going to happen and that or that you don't deserve rest. Like what is making you feel guilty about rest that is stopping you from grabbing his hand, from pulling you up from drowning? And some people think that exhaustion means lack of faith, but that's not true. But Jesus himself, I mean, because he is self, he became overwhelmed emotionally. I mean, think about when he went to the garden, right? Before the cross, he went to the garden, and what did he do? He cried, he prayed, and he sweated drops of blood under pressure. He was under that much pressure and was that stressed out that he literally sweated blood. Imagine how much stress your body would have to be under in order to sweat blood, you guys. Like, we do not need to get to that point ourselves. Not saying that you would have to be under a substantial weight of stress for you to do that. And it's not really something that we hear about every day today because it's just that is a lot of stress. Not saying that you're under that much, but I don't want anyone here to get under even close to getting to that amount of stress that you would be sweating blood, right? Um and the thing is again, he's fully capable of carrying it where we're not. He knew when to rest, when to take time out for himself, to be in God's presence and to pray to him, which is him turning to him and asking him for help. That is his rest. That is his safe space. That is um the all knowing, to help you get through whatever it is that you're going through. And Jesus knew that, which is why he was turning to him. In Luke 22:44, it says, "And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly." So in time of stress, he prayed more than he has ever prayed before, which is what we should do. Right. And when you become followers of Jesus, right, you want to do better in life and you want to become more Christ like. Just naturally, it happens when you start to follow him. And that is what we should be doing in the times of stress, is just praying like we have never prayed before, because he answers. And as you're going through it, maybe you're seeing, you're getting, he's talking to you, answering your prayers and giving you the wisdom that you asked for, that you need. And now you have a new prayer because, okay, now I have this wisdom. So, maybe then you need to know something else, while also having faith and understanding that you don't have to understand everything, that he is all knowing and that he does have your back no matter what. And just having that faith that you are able to trust him, um, because he has your best interests at heart, and he does love you unconditionally, which is another thing that is hard for humans to understand because there is no unconditional love here on earth. It is his love for us is definitely beyond anything that, because humans can only go off of human experience, right? And unfortunately, human love has limits where Jesus's has no limits. Like, people tend to, like, I love you as long as I can get this or that from you, or there's always something to it. It has its limits, or hey, if you do this or if you stop doing that, then I will no longer love you. Like, you gotta go, right? But Jesus, he will never leave you, and he always meets you where you're at, and his love is definitely unconditional. So if Jesus needed time alone with the Father, why do you think that you can survive without rest, or without the Father, without leaning on him, without his wisdom, without his love, without his rest? If Jesus needed all of that, then what makes you think that you can do it without him, and that you won't allow yourself to have rest? So some of you are trying to pour from an empty cup, and you're breaking because you were never meant to live disconnected from God. None of us were. He did not create us to live in depression, to be miserable, to have feelings of hopelessness. Because without him, that definitely is a thing. You're just carrying so much anger, um, bitterness, just hurt, and that hardens your heart, and it closes off um a lot. But most of all, it closes off allowing God to give you blessings, or allowing him to be fully into your heart. Because you can't really grow anything with a hardened soil. Like, if your heart becomes so hardened that it's like, say that it's like covered in asphalt or concrete, right? How do you plant anything in that? And planting is, any seed that you plant will grow, but it can't grow in a hardened heart. It can't grow in concrete or compressed soil that is so compressed it is like concrete. So um we were never meant to live life like that. God did not create us to be disconnected from him. He did not create us to live miserable lives. That's why he says, come to me, with that invitation. He says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He even did say, nowhere in the Bible did he say it was going to be easy. What he did say in John 16:33, he says, there will be trouble in the world. So didn't say it was going to be easy. He said there will be trouble in the world, but he said, take heart. I have overcome the world. So everything that we are going through, as hard as it's to hear as you're going through it, it is temporary, and he has already beat it. That's what he died on the cross for. He died on the cross for your freedom, for you to be free of your sins, to just have that freedom, that connection with him, that hope of one day, I know that I will no longer have pain, that I will just have the feeling of, like, imagine what heaven is like, where it's just pure bliss, happiness, joy. Just, if you ever sit in the presence of God, then you, like, just imagine that feeling as you're in his presence, just having that all the time, and it be like multiplied by 1,000, right? Just that feeling of there. And again, that's something else that is kind of hard to explain and hard for us to understand because I've never been to heaven. I can only imagine what it's like. I did have an experience where I was meditating and I did feel what people describe heaven to be like. And even I can't explain it because there's nothing here on earth that is like that. Just because there is no pain, there's no worry. It's just pure love, happiness, joy, all of the positive things just multiplied by 1,000, right? That's the best thing or the best way that I could explain it. But the strong ones, they also become masters at hiding their pain. You you know how to smile while you're struggling. You know how to encourage others while you're on the inside you feel empty. And you know how to say, "I'm fine," when really you're falling apart on the inside, knowing you're not fine. You're just saying it because you're trying to be strong for everybody else. And why is that? Is it's because somewhere along the way you learned that if I fall apart, then everything around me is going to fall apart too. So you stay for everybody else and you continue being the strong one while secretly praying for someone or that someone notices that you are actually drowning. And I told you that story of Peter where Jesus, he has his hand out. He has that invitation to come to him, right? And we'll use the example of Elijah. Elijah is a huge prophet. Like there was even rumors, I don't know if they're still going on, but there's some people I heard of they were trying to say, was that actually Jesus? Which we know it wasn't. But that's how big of a prophet that Elijah was. And Elijah, he called fire down from heaven, and he was a powerful prophet, a strong man of God. But after victory, he collapsed emotionally. So even he collapsed emotionally. In 1 Kings 19:4, he finally said, "I have had enough, Lord." He finally turned to the Lord. He says, "I have had enough." Have you ever gotten to that point where you just want to drop to your knees and you've gotten to the point where you're like, "Lord, I have had enough. Please help me. I give this to you because I can no longer do it." That's the point of surrender. Because one moment he was powerful, or there's one moment where you're holding it all together and you're staying strong, but then the next, Elijah, he wanted to give up. And if you keep carrying that big heavy backpack on your back all the time, holding it together and being strong for everybody else and doing what you were not created to do by carrying all that. A matter of fact, you carrying that is like you playing God and you're not God. That is for him to carry. You were not created for it. And that's why you get to that moment of where you just want to give up and you just surrender, like, "Lord, I have had enough." And why is this? It's because even powerful people can become emotionally exhausted. And so has anybody ever looked strong on the outside while secretly struggling on the inside? Please let me know in the comments. So when strong people stay exhausted too long, it starts affecting everything, like I said, and you become irritable, emotionally numb. There's a thing called dissociation. You become disconnected, and we will talk about dissociation in another video. You start to get overwhelmed, anxious, and short-tempered, feeling hopeless. Like that's kind of describing a person that nobody really, you start to push everybody away because nobody wants to be around that, right? And really, it's like some people, they come off as mean. They come off as mean, but they're really exhausted. And some people aren't cold, they're emotionally drained. Some people aren't distant. They've just carried too much for so long that they seem like they're distant. And the enemy loves it when you're like this. He loves exhausted believers because exhausted people, they stop praying. They stop resting, they stop feeling, they stop hoping, and they stop trusting. In Isaiah 40:29, it says, He gives strength to the weary. There is so many points of my life that I've gone through some really hard things, just like anybody else. But I will tell you, I did not get through any of them in my own strength. Now that I look back, no way would I have been able to get through a lot of it in my own strength or any of it at all. God carried me through it. And some people, you actually, like I said, you feel guilty for resting and you think, I have to keep going. I can't stop and everybody needs me. But rest is actually biblical. And God created the Sabbath, for instance, which is a day of rest. Jesus, he withdrew from crowds, and even God rested after creation. And rest, it's not weakness, it is wisdom. Because burnout is not a badge of honor. It is actually not good for anyone. It's just not healthy, right? And in Luke 5:16, it says, But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. He often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. If Jesus needed quiet, if Jesus needed prayer, if Jesus needed separation from noise, then why do you think constant exhaustion is spiritual maturity? Because it simply is not. There comes a point where the strong ones finally say, God, I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep carrying this. And honestly, that might be exactly where the healing begins, because sometimes God allows exhaustion because that is what brings you to surrender. Have you ever heard of the story, The Two Footprints in the Sand? Because as I was writing this, I was thinking about that very story. And there's a reason why other people connect with that story so deeply too, because there are seasons where you realize that you surrendered because God carried you. There are times where, that's why you ever notice that a lot of people do turn to God when they are at the lowest points of their life, because that's when they surrendered. Like, you've just gotten to the point where you're so exhausted and you're just like, you realize, I cannot do this alone. I cannot do this anymore. Lord, please help me. And that's when he picks you up right where you're at and he carries you. It's not your strength or your wisdom or your mask that you wear that carries you. It is God. And some of you are actually alive today because God carried you through depression, through heartbreak, through betrayal, through grief, through trauma, through anxiety. Because we are not meant to do it alone. He created us to have that relationship with him, not to be disconnected from him. And there's even been a time in my life where I have been like, I can't. I've gotten to that point where I'm like, I can't do this alone. I've gotten so overwhelmed. Like, I don't even know what to do with this. Lord, please help me. And, and in that overwhelm, I even asked my husband, I was like, how long do I expect God to carry me? And his answer was simple, but yet so life-changing and helpful. And he said he will carry you till the end. He will carry you forever. And I'm like, you know what? I knew that. Deep down, I knew that. I guess I just needed to hear it, but he will carry you forever if he needs to, and he will do it with a smile on his face. So strong people, like I said, they often tie their worth to what they do for others, but your value does not come from your performance. You are way more than that. You are chosen and loved by God each and every day. He chose you. He died on the cross for you, for your freedom. He has unconditional love for you. You are chosen. So maybe in the mirror each and every morning, say, I am chosen. Thank you, God, for choosing me. Because there are affirmations that are really good for you to say. But I've also gotten to the point where I was like, well, affirmations are, and this was like my old me, which is why I'm saying, because I've learned since then, why I'm like, but I was like, affirmations are like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. But then it finally clicked where I'm like, okay, these things that I've been saying are actually things that have been within me the whole entire time. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that. Like I lost that realization that I am enough. I am beautiful. I am chosen, and those are things that again they're within you. You're not faking it. You're reminding yourself each and every day. And God does not love you because you hold everything together. He loves you because you are his. In Psalm 55:22, it says, cast your cares on the Lord and he will sustain you. So God never asked you to become emotionally indestructible. He asked you to lean on him. So everyone here who is exhausted, overwhelmed, caretakers, people secretly breaking, or the strong ones who feel forgotten, you guys, please hear this. If you have to listen to it multiple times, listen to this video. And I am also going to pray for you. So we are going to bow our heads in prayer. Father, today we bring you our exhaustion, the pressure, the expectations, the emotional weight, the fear of falling apart. Teach us that we do not have to carry everything alone. Help the strong ones rest again. Help the weary breathe again. Help the exhausted find peace again. Lord, please let them see your hand stretched out with the invitation of you saying, come to me. Lord, I pray that they grab your hand and realize that you pull them up from drowning no matter where they are at. Remind us that weakness is not failure. It is often where your strength begins. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And you guys, before you leave, remember this. Being strong doesn't mean that you never break. Real strength is finally allowing God to hold the parts of you that are too tired to keep carrying everything alone. You guys, if you need help with talking to God and surrendering, DM me. If you have the belief system of if I rest, then you feel guilty, or if I rest, then um the whole world's just everything around me is going to fall apart. If you feel like you've been in survival mode for a long time that maybe you forgot until maybe just this here reminder now. If you feel like there are things in your belief system, like, and I don't mean religion or things like that. I mean, which I will turn you to God. So it is a little bit about that. But what I'm saying is if you have things like in your things that you learned along the way that got embedded into your nervous system that you don't know how to rewire or to relearn, then DM me because I would love to help you. You guys, I am working on becoming a life coach and I would really love to help you. God bless.